Ötzi the Iceman, preserved for more than 5,000 years in alpine ice, has long been a window into ancient life. His clothing, tools, tattoos, even his last meals yielding vivid stories of Chalcolithic Europe. But a fresh look deep inside his skeleton is now rewriting a chapter of human evolution. In 2025, scientists digitally reconstructed Ötzi's ribcage and compared it to both ancient and modern humans. What they saw challenged long-held assumptions. Ötzi's thorax isn't simply like ours, nor like the robust ribs of Neanderthals. Instead, he carried a hybrid ribcage, broad enough to cope with cold, yet retaining slender aspects suited to milder environments. That blend of traits suggests our species never abandoned flexibility in its anatomy. This one new insight forces us to reconsider. Was the lean, narrow human ribcage we see today ever truly the norm? Or have humans always carried within them a spectrum, an ability to adjust, adapt, and thrive across shifting climates? Ötzi's ribs may hold a deeper truth. Our evolutionary story is not a straight line, but a map of branching choices, responsive to environment. The Iceman in the glacial alpine landscape. In 1991, hikers in the Ötztal Alps discovered a body melting out of the ice. At first, it looked like a modern accident victim, but tests revealed something astonishing. The man had died more than 5,000 years ago. Quickly named Ötzi, he became one of the best-preserved human mummies ever found. His clothing, tools, and even the food in his stomach survived. He carried a copper axe, flint blades, and a bow, giving archaeologists a direct glimpse into life in the Copper Age. Tattoos across his skin suggested therapeutic practices, while scans revealed arthritis, old injuries, and signs of illness. Over the decades, researchers mapped his DNA, studied his diet, and reconstructed his appearance. But some parts of his anatomy were badly deformed by the ice, especially his ribcage. For years, it was assumed little more could be learned from it. Recently, new digital reconstructions changed that. Scientists rebuilt Ötzi's ribcage virtually, restoring its original proportions. What they found went beyond the man himself. It suggested that the shape of the human thorax has been far more variable and adaptive to climate than once thought. Why rib cages matter in human evolution. The rib cage might not seem like the most revealing part of the human body, yet it plays a crucial role in how we breathe, regulate temperature, and move. Its shape affects lung capacity, endurance, and even how efficiently a body can cope with heat or cold. For decades, anthropologists thought they had a clear picture of ribcage evolution. Neanderthals and earlier humans, like Homo erectus, were known for their wide, barrel-like chests, adaptations linked to colder climates and high physical demands. In contrast, modern Homo sapiens were believed to have evolved a narrower, more slender thorax, better suited to warmer regions and long-distance mobility. This view created a simple evolutionary story. Humans gradually left behind the heavy, stocky builds of their ancestors and developed the leaner bodies we recognize today. But that model rested on limited fossil evidence, and many remains, like Ötzi's, were too damaged to confirm the details. By revisiting his ribcage with modern imaging, scientists could finally test whether this slender chest was really a fixed human trait or just one end of a broader spectrum. The answer suggests that human anatomy was never as uniform as textbooks implied. Instead, rib cages adapted to different environments, revealing a flexibility that may have been central to our species' survival. How scientists reconstruct ancient rib cages. Studying rib cages from the deep past is never straightforward. Bones of the chest are thin, fragile, and often collapse under pressure long before they can be recovered. In Ötzi's case, centuries locked in ice left his thorax flattened and misshapen, making it impossible to judge its original form by eye. To solve this, researchers used high-resolution CT scans to capture every fragment of bone. These scans allowed them to create a digital 3D model of Ötzi's ribcage, correcting for distortions and filling in missing sections. By applying geometric morphometrics, a method that uses hundreds of reference points, they could compare his chest shape with both modern humans and ancient fossils. The comparison set was wide: 59 living humans from different backgrounds, several early Homo sapiens fossils, and representatives of Neanderthals and Homo erectus. This allowed the team to place Ötzi's thorax within a broader evolutionary framework. The technology revealed patterns invisible before. Subtle differences in rib angles, chest width, and torso depth became measurable in millimeters. What once looked like random variation could now be mapped against climate, geography, and evolutionary history. For the first time, Ötzi's ribcage was no longer an accident of preservation. It became solid evidence, showing how one man's body fit within the broader story of human adaptability. Ötzi's ribcage: mixed traits and intermediate form. When the reconstruction was complete, Ötzi's ribcage revealed a surprising combination of features. It wasn't the narrow, slender thorax we associate with modern humans today. Nor was it the broad, barrel-shaped chest of a Neanderthal. Instead, it sat somewhere in between. Ötzi's ribcage was larger and deeper than those of some ancient humans from warmer climates, like the fossils from Ohalo in Israel or Nazlet Khater in Egypt. Yet it was not as expansive as the cold-adapted skeleton from Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic, which lived during the Ice Age and shows a chest almost as broad as a Neanderthal's. This placed Ötzi in a unique position. His chest was clearly adapted for life in the Alps, where conditions alternated between cold, high-altitude winters and more temperate lowlands. A rib cage of intermediate size may have given him both lung capacity for demanding climbs and efficiency for life at lower elevations. Rather than fitting neatly into one category, Ötzi's anatomy showed that early Europeans could carry a mix of traits. His rib cage was a functional compromise, a reflection of the varied environments his community moved through each year. This blurred the line between slender modern humans and stocky ancient ones, suggesting that our species' body shape has always been more flexible than once believed. Climate, adaptation, and morphological plasticity. The variation seen in Ötzi's ribcage highlights a key point. Human anatomy is not fixed, but shaped by environment. Studies of ancient fossils now show a consistent pattern. People living in colder regions tended to have broader chests and larger lung capacity, while those in warmer climates had narrower, lighter rib cages. This flexibility, known as morphological plasticity, means our species can adjust body form within just a few generations. It's not a slow evolutionary change, but a rapid response to climate and lifestyle. For Ötzi, who lived in the Alps around 3,300 BCE, this meant balancing two worlds. His community likely moved seasonally between high-altitude pastures and lower valleys. A rib cage with intermediate proportions may have been the best compromise, supporting survival across shifting conditions. Such adaptability may have been one of the great advantages of Homo sapiens. While Neanderthals evolved for specific cold environments, our ancestors carried a body design that could bend and adjust. Ötzi's chest serves as direct evidence of that. His ribs weren't just personal traits, but part of a larger strategy that let humans thrive in diverse habitats. Rather than a straight line from stocky to slender, the story of the ribcage reveals a spectrum of forms, each tuned to the demands of climate and landscape. Rethinking modern human. Anatomy as fixed. For much of the 20th century, textbooks presented a simple picture of human evolution. Earlier species had wide, heavy rib cages, while Homo sapiens developed a narrow, slender thorax, the supposed modern form. This gave the impression that once our species appeared, anatomy quickly settled into the same body shape we see today. Ötzi's ribcage challenges that view. His chest does not match the slim proportions of living Europeans, nor the extreme breadth of Ice Age hunters. Instead, it falls between them, proving that even within our species, body form was more variable than once thought. The broader implication is that there was never one fixed modern human body plan. Ancient populations looked different from each other, shaped by their environments. What we now call typical anatomy may simply reflect the needs of today's world, not a universal standard for all Homo sapiens. By focusing too narrowly on present-day bodies, researchers may have underestimated the diversity of our past. Ötzi reminds us that variation was normal, and adaptability, not uniformity, was the real hallmark of our species. This shift in perspective opens the door to reinterpreting other fossils. Instead of asking which skeletons are modern and which are archaic, scientists are beginning to see them as part of a continuum, each reflecting local climate and lifestyle. Implications for human evolution and anthropology. The study of Ötzi's ribcage doesn't just add a detail about one man, it reshapes how scientists interpret human fossils across time. If body form was this flexible, then skeletal differences between populations may not mark separate types of humans, but rather local adaptations. For example, broad-chested fossils from Ice Age Europe may no longer be viewed as unusual or transitional. Instead, they could represent a normal response to bitterly cold conditions, just as narrower-chested skeletons from warmer regions reflect a different ecological pressure. This helps explain why early Homo sapiens fossils vary so widely in size and proportions. It also raises questions about how we compare our species with Neanderthals. If modern humans could develop chest shapes approaching theirs in cold climates, then some differences once thought to separate the species may be less clear-cut. Environmental overlap, rather than hard evolutionary boundaries, may explain part of what we see in the fossil record. Most importantly, Ötzi shows how much information can still be unlocked with new methods. Digital reconstruction and morphometric analysis allow us to revisit old finds and see them in ways unimaginable just decades ago. Each fresh study is less about confirming a rigid evolutionary story and more about uncovering the flexibility that let humans spread across every continent. Ötzi the Iceman has long been a time capsule of Copper Age life, but his ribcage reveals something even larger: the hidden adaptability of our species. Far from being fixed, the human thorax has shifted in size and shape depending on climate and lifestyle. In Ötzi's case, his chest carried traits from both ends of this spectrum, reflecting the seasonal demands of alpine living. This discovery challenges the old idea of a single modern human body plan. Instead, our anatomy appears to have remained flexible, capable of adjusting to different environments far more quickly than evolution alone would suggest. Variation, not uniformity, seems to be our true inheritance. The lesson extends beyond Ötzi. By re-examining ancient remains with new technology, scientists are finding evidence of diversity that was once hidden or overlooked. Each skeleton tells not just the story of an individual, but of human adaptability across changing landscapes. In the end, Ötzi's frozen ribs remind us that survival was never about having the perfect body shape. It was about being able to adapt to mountains, to valleys, to cold and warmth alike. That flexibility may be the very trait that allowed our species to endure.